Okay, what's going on, everybody? We're here, we're live. I want to thank you all for joining me on today's live stream, and it should be a very good and I believe informative live stream today because I'm going to speak on something that not too many people know about. I was made aware of this thing, we'll say for now, called the Judgment Fund. I was made aware about it about I don't know, maybe about a month ago. But I'm just now getting an opportunity to speak on this and explain to you guys what the Judgment Fund is and to discuss whether or not the government has been secretly paying millions of dollars out to undocumented immigrants through the Judgment Fund. Now, through the Judgment Fund, billions of dollars, right? Hundreds of millions to billions of dollars is issued out all throughout the world through this Judgment Fund. We don't really know who this money and stuff like that is going to. There's very little documentation on the things that go on within the Judgment Fund, but we'll get into that deeper a little bit later. First thing is this, right? And I want to thank those who are supporting the live stream early. Thank you very much to our good brother Black Light Revelations. That's Rob. And also thank you very much, Fanteezy. I appreciate the support more than you know. Now, before we get into today's show, what I want to do is speak on something that I forgot to speak on during the last impromptu live stream that I did. I believe it was the day before yesterday, right? So I want to speak on this very briefly before we get into the main topic of the show. And what I want to talk about is this right here, okay? So as you can see, this is a tweet from our good brother Chris, who works with the organization CJEC, that's Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. And he put this tweet up, and I'm going to leave the link to this tweet in the comment section. Let me do that right now. I'm going to leave it in a live comment section. And if you're watching this on the replay as well, I'll leave the link to this tweet pinned in the comment section below if you're watching the replay. But I want to read this off to you right now, right? So, and he put this tweet up on Monday, right? So just 1 week left to take the California Reparations survey and tell the California State Reparations Task Force you support reparations for the descendants of U.S. slavery. It's a survey, and you're going to hit the link right here where you see the thumb pointing to. Now, this is extremely important for you to click on this link and take that survey because ultimately there's a host of questions on that survey revolving around reparations for the descendants of American slavery, as well as a couple of other things that are kind of associated with that. But the main thing that you need to take, the main reason, that you need to take this survey for is for the final question. The final question on that survey is who should be eligible to receive reparations, if this comes to pass. And the options are descendants of American slavery, right? Black people as a whole, meaning the race, Black people as a whole. And I believe there was one other option, and I forget what that option is. But obviously the option that you're going to pick is reparations should go to those who are eligible should be those who are actual descendants of American slavery. So that's why this is very important. I know some people could look at this and say, oh, they're just doing a study and this is just a report, and kind of rolling your eyes like, oh, surveys, studies, reports. These are just the motions that we're going to have to go through right now in order to accomplish what we're setting out to accomplish by way of reparations, at least in the state of California. To ignore these things is to simply show the task force and the local government here as well that you simply don't care, right? And if you're showing that you don't care, then of course it's just going to fall apart, So it's up to you. I took the survey already. I strongly suggest that you all take the survey as well. And you do not have to be a California resident to take that survey. All right. So we don't want to bypass any of these surveys or anything like that in the process towards getting reparations for the descendants of American slavery here in California. So one more time, I'm going to leave the actual direct link to that survey in the live chat. So I left a direct link to that survey in the live chat. And once again, if you're watching this on the replay, what I'll do is that I'll make sure to leave the direct link to that survey pinned in the comment section below. That's for those of you who are watching on the replay. All right. So now with that, we can move forward. And I actually have notes today to keep myself in order and organized. Normally I don't have notes, but I have notes today. Second order of business is this. If you're new to this channel, obviously make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you haven't hit the like button already. Make sure you share this video out, because this kind of information needs to be out there. You're not going to get this type of information on MSNBC or CNN or with Joy Reid or I forget the other chick, the linebacker that was tackling people for Joe Biden. I can't think of her name right now, but you all know who I'm talking about. You're not going to see this kind of stuff on those type of channels. You're only going to see the stuff here. So please make sure you're sharing it out. And also please make sure you show your financial support to the channel as well. It takes a lot of work to bring this information together, for me to present it to you. A lot of people spend their time online on YouTube, bickering, fighting, beefing with other YouTubers, beefing with other social media influencers, backbiting, and all of this other silliness. And when they go live talking foolish, super chats, cash apps, and everything is going crazy. I scour through the internet and I see this kind of stuff. There are times when I'm on the internet and you're just kind of eating your lunch, your breakfast, and scouring through the internet, and I'll see Black Manosphere brothers talking crazy, dragging Black women through the mud. Now, mind you, that is not the totality of the Black Manosphere. I understand it completely. There are a lot of great brothers in the Black Manosphere that put out great content. There are brothers that are part of what's called the Black Manosphere 3.0. They don't even talk about women. They talk about the Fourth Industrial Revolution and technology and things of that nature. You got brothers that are Black male advocates that speak on speak on issues that concern Black men, but don't really get addressed. And they do a great job of articulating that. And then there are brothers online that are part of that community that do a very good job at speaking of the, kind of conflicts that occur between Black men and Black women in a relationship that create certain levels of dysfunction, but they're able to articulate themselves in a way that's very respectful. You get what I'm saying? And they turn out to be very good conversations where all those who are level-headed are able to, at least walk away saying, well, maybe I respectfully disagree, but there's no animosity or nonsense going on with it. But then you have the other side of it, where they're just dragging Black women through the mud for about 3-4 hour long live streams, and super chats are going crazy. The Cash App is going crazy. So it speaks volumes when people can get online and talk the kind of recklessness and foolishness and craziness that they do, and they receive an abundance of financial support. But when an individual like myself, who's delivering the information that we all say that we want and need, and I do it in a professional fashion, no profanity, none of that kind of stuff, no foolishness, the support isn't always the same. So that speaks volumes. So let's make sure that, showing the support to your brother that your brother needs. So now let's get into today's show. Once again, today's episode is called, "Is the Government Secretly Paying Millions to Undocumented Immigrants Through the Judgment Fund?" Now, what is the Judgment Fund, right? In short, and I have a video that I want to play for you as well that'll give it to you in detail. But in short, the Judgment Fund is simply a blank check, right, that the United States government uses to pay off a host of things, majority of which, or most of which, tend to be lawsuits levied against the United States government. And then if the United States government loses that lawsuit, well, then what happens after that is that they'll pay off the person that sued them through the Judgment Fund, right? But like I said, it's kind of a blank check for the most part. There is no checks and bounds to it. They issue out money regardless of what the U.S. fiscal budget is and regardless of what the national budget is. They just throw that money out there like it's nothing. So now what I want to do, so that you get a deeper understanding and a little bit more detailed understanding of what the Judgment Fund is that I want to play a video for you real quick. And that video comes from here. And let me pull this up on the screen for you right now. Okay. So now here's the video. And this video right here is called The Judgment Fund, the Government's Secretive Unlimited Bank Account. Okay. This video is about 2 minutes and 48 seconds long. So I'm going to play that for you right now. And we're going to get, like I said, a better and more deeper understanding of what the Judgment Fund actually is, as far as it being this, like I said, essentially a blank check that the United States government can use to do whatever they want with. So let me play that video for you right now, and then we'll get back into the conversation.
You guys keep sending that garbage out, yeah, but it's not true.
President Biden fervently denied reports that his administration could pay $450,000 per person to families separated at the border during the Trump administration.
That's not going to happen.
But the ACLU says they're negotiating a deal with the Biden Justice Department. And the fact is, billions are paid out each year to settle lawsuits against the United States government using a little-known account called the Judgment Fund. It's the same fund the Justice Department will use to pay about $130 million to Parkland shooting victims after the FBI failed to act on tips saying the perpetrator was planning a school shooting. So what is the Judgment Fund? The Bureau of Fiscal Service describes it as a way to, quote, pay final money judgments and awards against the United States. In other words, it's a limitless bank account to pay for government screw-ups, which include everything from federal tort claims to medical malpractice against the VA. In 2011, the Judgment Fund paid out more than $2.9 billion. In 2015, 8,600 claims cost taxpayers nearly $2.6 billion. And in 2020, 7,500 payments totaled $14.2 billion. Nebraska Senator Deb Fischer introduced the Judgment Fund Accountability Act, which would block payments to people who enter the U.S. illegally. The bill would also require descriptions of the alleged wrongdoing behind each claim.
Well, I think it's important for Congress to have oversight when it comes to an obscure government fund that seems to be very secretive.
Secretive because who the payments are made to and why is often redacted. These two claims are entirely under seal, including the department responsible and the amount paid. The payments are supposed to be for legitimate settlements in court cases, but in cases like these, it's impossible for the public to know.
There are instances when it has not been used in that way, and the taxpayer needs to know that.
The former director of the Justice Department's torts branch, Jeffrey Axelrad, says he witnessed attempted misuses firsthand and stopped those payments from going through.
Government attorneys have a job to do, and that is to see settlements are not excessive or raids on the Treasury.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give before...
In 2017, before the House Judiciary Committee, former DOJ attorney Paul Figley made examples of cases where settlements cost more than $100 million each.
Each paid much more money than the government was likely to lose in court. The decisions to settle them on generous terms appear politically motivated.
So what do you think of the Judgment Fund? Let us know in the comments below.
So, like I was saying, the Judgment Fund essentially is just a blank check that the United States government can do whatever they want with. And they have been doing whatever they want with that blank check for years now, decades now, to be exact, especially Barack Obama, to the tunes of, billions of dollars. And I actually want to get into that right now, too. It's one more video that I want to play for you guys. And the video is roughly about 5 minutes long. So I guess that is a lengthy concern that this is a live stream. And I guess you'd want to see me talking about what I'm supposed to be talking about versus watching videos. But this is very informative, so I want to make sure to play this for you as well. Excuse me. And let me pull that up on the screen right now. Okay, so next, the video that I'm going to play for you guys next, it comes from the YouTube channel of the senator that you see here, named Senator Debbie Fischer. I believe that's how you say it. Yeah, Fischer. And she's the one that back in 2016, as well as in late 2021, when it was announced that Biden was considering paying reparations to undocumented immigrants who crossed the border illegally. Back in 2021, when that came out, that's when she proposed this bill, which was, I believe it's called something to the tune of the Judgment Fund Accountability Act, But this is something that Senator Deb Fischer has been fighting for since at least 2016, as you're going to see here, when she exposes the Obama administration for shuffling billions of dollars around through this judgment fund in order to pay off folks, in the Middle East, right? So I'm going to play this video for you right now. Like I said, people have been trying to get this regulated for a minute, but they haven't been able to. And with that being said, like I said, millions to billions of dollars are just being thrown around. There is no shortage of funds in the United States of America. That is a fact. So let me play this video for you right now. Like I said, it is about 5 minutes long. And then after that, we'll come back into the actual examples, or I'll show you the actual documentation that I was looking at in the reports that I was looking at that prompted me to ask the question and wanted to do a live stream on whether or not the U.S. government has been secretly paying millions of dollars to undocumented immigrants that cross the border illegally. So like I said, this is about 5 minutes long, but then we're going to get back into the discussion after that.
Is to draw attention to important legislation that would ensure American taxpayers know how their hard-earned dollars are being spent. This morning, I was pleased to join Senator Langford to introduce a bill that expands on similar legislation that I introduced with Senator Gardner last year, known as the Judgment Fund Transparency Act. The Judgment Fund is administered by the Treasury Department and is used to pay certain court judgments and settlements against the federal government. It is essentially an unlimited amount of money made available to the federal government to cover its own liability. The fund is not subject to the annual appropriations process. And even more remarkable, the Treasury Department has no reporting requirements. Because of this, the Judgment Fund payments are made with very little oversight or scrutiny. Because the Treasury Department has no binding reporting requirements, few public details exist about where the funds are going and why. This is no small matter, as the Judgment Fund disperses billions of dollars in payments every year. For example, between 2013 and 2015, the federal government paid more than $10 billion in Judgment Fund awards with scant transparency or oversight. Hardworking taxpayers and members of Congress have every right to see exactly how tax dollars are being spent out of this Judgment Fund. I was proud to see my original version of the bill pass the Senate as part of the Energy Policy Modernization Act in April. Still, recent developments show more oversight is needed, and that is why I've joined with Senator Langford to update and expand the Judgment Fund Transparency Act. This update is the result of payments made through the Judgment Fund to Iran earlier this year. In January, the Obama administration transferred $1.7 billion to Iran's central bank. It was paid in connection with the settlement of a claim relating to arms sales to the Shah. Last month, new reports indicated that the U.S. payment was transferred to Iran's defense budget. In defending the payment, White House spokesman Josh Ernst argued that it was, quote, Exhibit A in the administration pursuing tough principled diplomacy in a way that actually ends up making the American people safer and advancing their interest, close quote. Madam President, I disagree. A $1.7 billion payment that goes to Iran's military does not make our country safer. Iran was designated a state sponsor of terror in 1984. Its military has long provided weapons, training, and funding to groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, and other proxies throughout the Middle East and beyond. Last month, the State Department released its latest country reports on terrorism. It states in 2015, Iran's state sponsorship of terrorism worldwide remained undiminished. In fact, the State Department report noted that in some areas, such as Iraq, its support to terrorist groups has actually increased. Madam President, I am haunted by the fear that some of these very terrorists, groups that may have taken American lives, may have received money from the United States Treasury. The bill that I'm introducing with Senator Langford today takes action. It would prohibit the judgment fund from being used for this purpose while maintaining key provisions from the original bill requiring openness and transparency. If the administration wants to deliver another payment to a regime that's going to sponsor terror, it should make its case to Congress and to the American people. More transparency leads to greater accountability. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Through this bill, we can track taxpayer-funded payments to foreign nations and prevent harmful transactions from happening in the future. Madam President, I thank Senator Langford for his diligent work on this issue, and I urge my colleagues to stand behind hardworking American taxpayers and support this legislation. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.
Okay, so that right there was once again Senator Debs Fisher, I believe that's what her name is. And like I said, she's been trying to get the judgment fund regulated since 2016. And I think she kind of just gave up on it after that. But in 2021, once she saw in late 2021, when that report came out that it appeared Biden was going to be paying essentially millions upon millions of dollars in reparations to undocumented immigrants crossing the border illegally, that's when she came back and doubled back with a revamp of that bill for the purposes of excluding undocumented immigrants from being able to receive any type of money from the judgment fund. Okay, so now we're going to get into a couple of the reports that I found concerning the judgment fund, and there's just a couple of things that I want to read in regards to it as well, just going into a little bit more detail about it, and then we're going to see where some of this money may be going. And what prompted me to ask the question is the United States government secretly paying undocumented immigrants millions of dollars through the judgment fund. Okay, but before we do that, once again, please make sure you show your support to the channel. I see Nate G just joined Patreon. Nate G, thank you very much. I think with Nate G joining Patreon, that now puts me 3 Patreon members away from having 200 Patreon members. We're only 3 away. I've never had 200 Patreon members before. Those of you who are on Patreon, you see that we're uploading content on there now. For those of you who don't know, me and Rob have our own channel, Just Talking with TD and Rob, the actual YouTube channel. It's a 2-hour-long podcast that we do every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But once that podcast is finished, that podcast then goes on private, and you will only have access to the full show once if you're on Patreon, right? If you're on Patreon or if you're a channel member here, you'll have access to the full show. Okay, so that's one of the perks of being on Patreon. There's a couple other things that are going to be coming soon on Patreon as well. But like I said, we're only 3 patrons away now from having 200 Patreon members. If we were able to accomplish that before the show was over, that would be amazing. Also, TNT, Mike and Jazz, I believe. Thank you very much. TNT says, we love what you're doing, TD. This channel is very valuable, and we appreciate you. Thanks for all the hard work. We share your content and information. Thank you very much. I do the best that I can to be as professional as possible with the resources that I have to give you all the political information that everybody says they need and everybody says that they want. I don't engage in foolishness on this channel. I just give you just straight information, straight facts, and we move forward. Nate G, thank you very much for joining the becoming a member. I thank you, Nate G, for that. That is very much so appreciated. So now let's get into the report, right? Let's get into the actual judgment fund. So let me pull that up on the screen right now, and we'll move forward from there. Now, here's the judgment fund website, and let me give you the link, and I'll leave that in the live chat as well. And also, if you're watching the replay, you're going to watch the replay, I'll leave the link to the judgment fund in the description below, the description box after the live stream is over as well, so you can have access to it if you can't see the live chat. But I just dropped the link to the judgment fund website in the live chat if you want to bookmark that link. And now let me pull this up on the screen for you. Okay, so here we go. I'll just read this off really quickly. Even though we watched videos on it already, I'll still read this off for those that are just now tuning in. The judgment fund pays court judgments and comprises settlements of lawsuits against the government. Federal agencies may ask the Bureau of the Fiscal Service to pay from the judgment fund for most court judgments and Justice Department settlements of actual or imminent litigation agents against, oh my God, I'm fumbling this so much. Most court judgments and Justice Department settlements of actual or imminent litigation against the government, administrative claim awards, settlements by agencies at the administrative level, not involving a lawsuit. An agency may only ask for payment from the judgment fund if funds are not legally available to pay from the agency's own appropriations. If another source of funds exists to pay the award, the judgment fund cannot be used even if the other sources does not have enough money. In that case, the agency with the other source of funds must ask Congress to appropriate more money for that other source. Okay, so now let's get into this. So when you click on here, go to search payments, right? That's what you want to do, search payments when you come here. Okay, and then it takes you to this next screen right here, and this is where you search payments coming from the judgment fund. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select the date, and the first thing that I'm going to do is that I want to look at how much money the judgment fund paid out through ICE, right? ICE was sued numerous times in 2021. And let's just see how much money ICE paid out, right? So we're going to go ahead here to the date. And obviously, like I said, I want to look through 2021 first, right? So you select 2021, the 1st of January, and then excuse me. Let me take a sip of this coconut water. My apologies. My throat is getting hoarse. Okay. That's better. Now I feel better. So now let's go to 2021 over here as well, and go to December 31st. Now what you want to do is this, right? You're going to come to the search bar, type immigration. Okay, and that's where you see DHS Immigration and Custom Enforcement. That is ICE, right? Click the plus. Now you added it over here. Now the next thing you want to do is this: go to optional search fields, right? And then you scroll down, and what you're going to want to type in the optional search field section in the search bar is federal tort claims, right? Federal tort claims. Now, what are federal tort claims? What does that mean? I'll bring that definition up for you right now. Okay. Federal Tort Claims Act, FTCA. The Federal Tort Claims Act is federal legislation enacted in 1946 that provides a legal means for compensating individuals who have suffered personal injury, death, or property loss or damage caused by the negligent or wrongful act or omission of an employee of the federal government. Okay. While there are exceptions to which claims may be payable under the FTCA, it generally allows individuals to recover monetary damages from the United States under circumstances where the United States, if a private person, would be liable in accordance with the law of the place where the negligent wrongful act or omission occurred. All right. So that's what the Federal Tort Claims Act is, and that's what you want to look up. Okay. So now, in just a second, before I go back to that page, I want to take a moment to thank Tyrone McLeod for the super sticker. I appreciate that very, very much. Like I said, a lot of work goes into putting these videos together and these live streams together and the pre-records. So whenever you guys show me love like that through the super chat, as well through Cash App and Patreon, it's very much so needed, and I deeply, deeply appreciate it. So now let's carry on. Give me just a second while I go back. So now we're back on to where are we? There we go. So that was federal tort claims. Now what you're going to do is just hit add all. Okay. And it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter the fact that you have all of them there, because either it's going to apply or it doesn't apply, period. Okay. Either applies or it doesn't. And then you go to generate report. And now what's going to happen is that it's going to generate the report. And then as you can see here, defendant agency name, ICE, ICE, ICE. You see it's all ICE. Everything you see here is ICE. So that's the defendant agency's name. And then there's a lot of other, what do you call the rows here that give out a lot of different information. But this is where you this is where you want to scroll down to, though. I don't know why my voice is so hoarse right now. And you want to scroll down to the very bottom right here, right before it gets to administrative payments. Total payment amount last year was $9,948,521.10. Okay, so close to $10 million last year was paid out through the judgment fund on behalf of ICE. Okay, so now the question stands: is the United States government secretly paying millions of dollars to undocumented immigrants through the judgment fund? As you can see, ICE, being the defendant throughout all of 2021, by way of the judgment fund, paid out close to $10 million. Okay, now why this isn't something that I see utilized more often by Black Americans and the grievances that we have concerning the United States government here, I'm not sure. This is definitely something that Black farmers need to figure out how to tap into. I mean, it's not really hard. You're just levying a lawsuit against the United States government. There's more than enough documentation out there and historical fact and data and everything that show that the United States government is the cause for why Black farmers are pretty much non-existent, right? So you can skip all the legislation and the fact that now Joe Biden has completely removed all his support from Black farmers, right? By gutting the part of the American Rescue Plan, which was placed in there in order for them to receive debt relief. Biden removed that. So debt relief is gone for Black farmers. This is something that they should be tapping into. Hopefully John Boyd is made aware of this and they can do the necessary lawsuits against the United States government in order to tap into those funds, as well as when you're talking about the general claims for reparations as well, because like I said, this is a blank check. Regardless of what the national debt is, regardless of what the budget is, it doesn't matter what the yearly fiscal budget for the United States is. It doesn't matter, right? Once they lose the lawsuit, they have to pay you, and they're paying you through the judgment fund. Now, let's see how much money that the judgment fund, right, has paid possibly undocumented immigrants who cross the border illegally because of suing ICE. Let's see how much they paid them out so far this year. Okay, so let me put this back on the screen and give me just a moment. And we're going to come back over here to the judgment fund main page, search payments. And we're going to do the same steps that I did last time, but the only difference that we're going to do this time is that I'm going to make it up to date for just simply this year. So once again, you come to the search bar, type in immigration, and you don't even have to finish all the way through. There goes ICE, change the date. to January 1st of 2022. And obviously, we're going to go with August 25th, not the 26th, which is today, but the 25th. Optional search fields. And remember, what you're going to be looking for, what you want to search for here is federal tort claims. Federal tort claims, add all. And now from here, generate report. Boom. So let's see what's going on in 2022 so far, right? So far in 2022, scroll down. So far in 2022, the judgment fund by way of ICE, right? Because ICE is a defendant. ICE is who's being sued. ICE loses, and the judgment fund so far this year has paid $5 million through ICE. Okay, $5 million. Is this going to undocumented immigrants that cross the border illegally? I would assume so. I would assume so. Now, do I know that to be a fact? I don't know that to be a fact. I don't know that to be a fact, but I would assume so. And these are the questions that have to be asked and the things that have to be called out and just what has to be put front and center. Because, you know, if you're not asking the questions, right, and you're not digging into these things to find out what's what and who's who and what's going on, well, then you're just going to continue to witness millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, you know, being stolen, or not stolen, but just being passed out right underneath our nose. As I played for you in that video with Deb Fisher, right, when she was giving her testimony, I believe it's called, on the Senate floor, trying to get her bill passed to regulate the judgment fund. You know, she was going into detail about how your boy Obama was moving all type of money around, billions of dollars, you know, shuffling it over here to Iran and other Middle Eastern countries and other organizations, just billions of dollars just shuffling around all through the judgment fund. Millions of dollars being paid out through the judgment fund, possibly to undocumented immigrants who cross the border illegally, right? Money everywhere. And you know what? Just for the heck of it, before we get out of here, let's just see overall how much money this year the judgment fund has paid out in total. Okay, in total, let's see how much money the judgment fund has paid out in total so far this year. So we're going to look that up really quick. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and close this live stream down. So let's go ahead back into this, because I'm curious to how much money that's been paid so far. I'm very curious. So once again, search payments. Okay. And I want to thank everybody who has contributed so far on the Cash App. And hopefully you don't mind me saying your names. Thank you very much, Jamar, Malik. Thank you very much. Melody China just joined Patreon. Thank you very much, Melody China, for joining Patreon. I believe, let me check the Patreon right now. My phone kind of froze up. That puts us at about... It says I'm still 4 Patreon members away, but I should be only 2 Patreon members away at this point from hitting 200 Patreon members on Patreon. Only 2 members away. So that if we hit that goal before the live stream was up, that would be great if we were able to hit the 200 mark on Patreon. So once again, thank you for the support, and let me get into what I was going to do as far as how much money has been paid so far this year through the judgment fund all together. Right? So January 1st, August 25th. Now, what we're going to do for that, we're simply going to hit add all. That's it, just add all. And when you hit add all, you don't even have to waste time doing the optional search fields here on the bottom, because once you hit add all for just in general over here, it's already equating everything. So let's generate the report before we head out of here and see how much money the United States government has paid out so far this year through the judgment fund. Okay. And this is pretty lengthy. Oh, wow. The U.S. government has paid so much money through the judgment fund so far this year that if you scroll through too fast, it doesn't even pull the page up fast enough. Wow. Okay. So we're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. What does this tell you right here? This is nuts. What does this tell you right here as I'm trying to get to the bottom of this page? And the reason that I don't just drag I could make it easy and just come over here and just drag all the way to the bottom by hitting that thing over, by hitting the little arrow button or whatever. I don't want to go too far down and go into the administrative portion, right? Because that's something separate. What's paid out through the judgment fund concerning administrative stuff is different from what we've been discussing. So I would hope, let me try to do a search, because I'll be here forever, it seems like. Minutes. Can I do it like, no. No, it's not going to work. Too much is going to come up. Okay, let me try to use this and see if I can make it to the bottom, and then we'll get out of here. Yeah, Claire said Moneybag Joe, Moneybag Joe. Mad money is going out through the judgment fund. This is nuts. Wow. Okay, hopefully we're getting there soon. We're only halfway through. I wish I would have pulled this up earlier and just took a screenshot, because now I feel kind of silly. Just kind of scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Jesus. And what would be the worst part is if I can't find it once I get to the bottom. But hopefully it should be coming up soon. I should play the judgment fund video for you guys again while I'm scrolling over here, lost right now. Administration. Let me try to use this arrow thing. If I can't find it, then I'm just we'll just say forget about it. But as you can see, we're looking at probably billions of dollars at this point. Where is, okay, I think we're close. Okay, here we go. Thank God. Okay. So far, total payments, and thank you guys for hanging in there with me as I was struggling. So far, total payments made through the judgment fund is, if I'm not mistaken, if I know my numbers correctly, 1 billion with a B, $1,807,450,082.01. That's how much money. $1.8 billion is how much money that the United States government, through the judgment fund, has paid out in lawsuits this year. $1.8 billion. And I'll put the camera on me right now before I get out of here. And I want to thank you. We got a new member. Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. Kenelius Jackson. If I butchered your name, I apologize. Thank you for becoming a new channel member. I appreciate that deeply. I truly do. I appreciate all the love that you all have been showing me on today's live stream. But so far this year, $1.8 billion has been paid out through the judgment fund. $1.8 billion. And what you have to remember is when they're paying that money out, it has nothing to do with the United States federal budget. The United States federal budget has nothing to do with it. We have a little spam bot in here right now. Let's get this person out of there. Okay. So it has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with the fiscal budget. And it has nothing to do, or could care less, about the U.S. national debt. But just $1.8 billion printed out so far this year like that. Regardless of whatever concerning budgets. Doesn't matter. Just pull $1.8 billion out of our behind, U.S. government, to pay off a host of lawsuits. So when people are telling you that we can't afford this and we can't afford that concerning reparations for the descendants of American slavery, or any host of legislation that would be helpful to Black Americans as a whole, as well as the descendants of American slavery, concerning concrete transformative legislation, that will close the racial wealth gap, you know, the money's there. They print this money out, you know, they just pull it out the sky, man. They pull it out of their behinds. And whether it's the judgment fund or not, as you saw with the impromptu live stream that I did, I believe it was 2 days ago, judgment fund or no judgment fund, when the U.S. government or the local government, when they want to get some money to do whatever it is that they're trying to do, like how you see in New York City, how they're getting ready to pay over $300 million to house undocumented immigrants who cross the border illegally in luxury hotels across New York. They just find a way to get the money. But when it comes to us, all of a sudden, we don't got no money. It's unconstitutional. This is too divisive or divisive, however you say the word. We just don't know what to do. You know, black people aren't a monolith now, you know. Not a monolith. This is just too difficult. I don't know. So sorry. You know, that's how it goes. You know, that's how it goes. But hopefully by exposing this, and please share this video out. Please share this video out so that this information concerning the judgment fund can get out there. Hopefully this is something that can be utilized, like I said, particularly right now for the black farmers, you know, because black farmers right now, the very few that are left, to be honest, really, man, after this decade, there's just not going to be any more black farmers, pretty much, for the most part. You know, they're already in order to prevent foreclosure, right? Because Biden abandoned them. I made a video about that already, a pre-recorded. Because Biden abandoned them, you have a bunch of black farmers who, in order to avoid foreclosures, are pretty much now selling their farms for what's the term for pennies on the dollar? I think that's how the term is, pennies on the dollar. They're selling their farms out for cheap, for almost nothing now, just so they can avoid foreclosure and at least get something for the years and decades that they've had these farms. But because they were discriminated against, they find themselves in the position that they're in, unable to get any type of debt relief. Biden completely abandoned them, and now they're in the position that they're in. Hopefully, like I said, messages like this can get to like Brother John Boyd, who's the president of the Black Farmers Association, and they can just find a way to tap into those funds to be able to help those black farmers out. And honestly, man, if these legacy organizations like NAACP and the Urban League and all these other nonsense organizations that exist, these Vote Blue, no matter who organizations exist, if they were doing their job, they would have been tapped into the judgment fund. Because if there's any group of people in this country that has a legal claim to financial compensation concerning wrongdoing that happened to them, with the co-signing of the U.S. federal government behind it, it's the descendants of American slavery. I mean, it's lawsuits galore. Lawsuits galore when you're talking about reparative justice for the descendants of American slavery, right? Lawsuits galore. Like I said, if they were doing their business, if they were handling their business and doing what they're supposed to do, they would have been tapped into the judgment fund. But because politicians, particularly the Democrats, have the NAACP and all these other groups in their back pocket, this stuff never happens. It doesn't happen. And most of us don't even know about these kind of things. So we're approaching the 1 hour mark now, 53 minutes and 39 seconds. That does it for today's show. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I want to thank all of you who supported today's show by joining Patreon, becoming channel members, Super Chat, and Cash App. It's very, very much appreciated. Is very, very much needed. And it just shows a sign of unity and strength with our people, and especially with this side of YouTube, on this side of the algorithm, when you show your support, not just to me, but brothers like myself, whether we're talking about Rob from Blacklight Revelations, or we're talking about, the good brother Torian Rain Reloaded, brothers like us that are put the kind of work in that we do to give the information that we do give, that everybody says they want and need to be properly politically informed. It takes a lot of work to do this stuff, and when you compensate us for it accordingly, it's just appreciated. Because like I said, on the flip side, it says a lot when you have other black YouTubers that have channels speaking on complete foolishness. I mean, at the end of the day, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's YouTube, man. Go ahead, whatever. You know, some people think that what I talk about is foolishness, but on the flip side, you got people out there that have channels, they just beefing, fighting, backbiting, all this kind of stuff, you know, and super chats galore, gossiping, and then super chats and support galore. So when you guys show that kind of support to us for the work that we do on this side of the algorithm, it's so much appreciated, and it just shows just a good sign of strength and unity with what we're trying to push forward, right? So anyways, that's enough rambling, that's enough babbling. Thank you all very much. That does it for today's episode. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you'll be notified whenever I release a new video. Make sure you text TD Hip Hop to number 33222. That's TD Hip Hop to number 33222, so you get a direct text notification whenever I release a new video. But that also serves as a protection plan for myself in case YouTube ever gives this channel the axe. I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but not least, please make sure you remember to join the emailing list. The link to that is in the description box below, as well as it will be pinned in the comment section once this live stream is over. Okay, like I always say, you can't go independent of YouTube if you cannot take the audience with you. So joining the text service and joining the emailing list is very, very critical. So thank you all for your time, and until the next video, peace. Thank you very much, and thank you all for your support today. It's truly, truly appreciated. I truly thank you guys. Thank you.